Roll call, please.
Alderperson Alms.
Here.
Alderperson Hall. Here. Alderperson Morissette.
Here, thank you. Approval of the May 5th regular meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, new business. A, Bridge the Valley Bike Rally. So who's got the issue sheet on that? So it's the Rotary Club. I think this might be the second time?
Yeah, they did it last year.
Yeah. We didn't have any issues with
No
that.
issues, no.
Okay. Move to
Yeah.
approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just a clarification, Mr. Muller, you have EMS teams down at the Lakefront Park
For the,
for that bike rally? They have a stop?
Requested, I think.
I didn't look at their map over here, what comes through the city.
Okay.
Are you saying they do have a stop?
I thought I read that in there.
Oh.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Continues north through Hudson and eventually links with the new loop trail, so there's no stop in Hudson. We'll be assuring SAG and maintenance as well as EMS coverage for all riders.
Yeah, and I've been in contact with the event organizer. And again, it was really a non-event for us last year. The way they stagger their runners, it's not like a race or anything. It's you come in and you get on your bike and you go. Family friendly. So, and they're spaced so far apart that if you posted, if I posted an ambulance out somewhere, it'd be one biker and then 20 minutes later someone. So we just kind of keep the crews on the road throughout the courses.
Cool. Yeah, I see in the
9 to 2.
after the bullets, we are planning a sponsored rest stop for these two routes, which will be in Lakefront Park, just northeast of the band shell. Stillwater's Rotary is not managing the restaurant or rest stop, but that the Hudson Rotary is. So I was just asking.
Where did you see that part?
It's right underneath Bridge the Valley Bike Rally, right? This right here.
Route.
It's like it's the first paragraph after the bullets. It starts with "We are working." Halfway down that,
Yep.
it's "We are planning sponsored rest stop." That's all.
Yeah, well, if there's a planned rest stop, I'll make sure our crews come down here, and myself and Matt will probably be on the road that day too so we'll come through too and
Cool.
make sure. We'll just check in so they know that we're around.
Okay. Excellent. There was a motion and a second, so is any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, John. And the next item. Dean Chamberlain, discussion possible action regarding the 9th Street speed calming.
All right, good evening, Public Safety Committee. So the first of many items before you tonight for me is discussing the 9th Street speed calming pilot project. In your issue sheet, I provided the kind of before the changes traffic information. That you can see that approximately 36% of people were going at or under the speed limit. And we had an average speed of about 27 miles per hour. We collected the speed data again. I believe that was starting on Friday, and we took down the counter on Monday morning of this week. I sent an email to you all in regards to that. Hopefully you received that. For the sake of everybody watching or listening, the amount of people at or under the speed limit increased to about 41%, so an increase of about 5% in compliance. The average speed reduced slightly from about 27 miles per hour to about 26 miles per hour. So the count was taken at the same location, or we believe the same location in both times. So that's not a factor. It shouldn't be a factor between these two. So just to summarize, it doesn't seem that the cones that were put out there had a very significant effect on traffic speeds. It did have a slight effect on traffic speeds. A few more people are compliant with the speed limit through there. The average speed is a little bit less, but it's not very significant, or at least as significant as I hoped anyway, at putting that out there.
Did you check
Yeah.
to see if they had, if the cones had been lined up again? Because I noticed that the cones that had gotten lined up at one point.
Yeah, before we put out the counter, I believe Public Works went back out and set up the cones at least closest to where we had the box set up again. And I know from talking with a few people out there, it seems like people have either been moving the cones or something. Because they're more mobile,
Yes.
they have been moving around somehow. I don't know who, but somehow. And so that's kind of the drawback, I guess, of not being able to actually anchor them into the pavement. That was a problem we realized after the fact, is that the pavement is so deteriorated on 9th Street that we couldn't even really drill them into the pavement. So we had to use essentially the cones that are like traffic cones where you can move them pretty easily. So I suspect that has something to do with the lack of speed reduction out there, but I can't confirm that.
Brent, has there been a marked decrease, do you know?
Well, it doesn't sound like there's been a marked decrease, but I know that we have been
Visual
issuing.
from you.
I mean, our people have been out there and they've been issuing citations, making stops, so.
Is it pretty consistent?
I
Depends on the time of day.
think so, because I can tell, the night guys to get out there and do it, but that's not when I think historically the issues
Right.
are.
So as an officer, do you think that's doing any good?
It slows me down,
By
when I
5%?
go around the cones,
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to find out though, how many emergency vehicles are passing those, and obviously with the potential of driving the numbers up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that could be, there's a few high maximum speeds out there, so that could be emergency vehicles going through there. I don't have any way of knowing that for
right,
sure, but
I don't think anybody would. Yeah.
Dean, are you or Joyce, have you talked with any of the neighbors that are directly affected? Have you had any feedback?
I haven't gotten any feedback that it's working or anything like that, no, but most of it's been on Facebook, and I've been just, that's when they were saying, they thought some project was going on with these cones. And I explained that, no, that this was to control the speed, and so they were glad to hear that, but they didn't have any comments about the effectiveness.
I've been talking with, just here, there people will be asking, what are these for? Why isn't a project happen? Like you're saying, like, what's going on here? And I've, been explaining it's kind of a demonstration project, just to kind of collect some data, see what's going on out there, see if this helps and that kind of thing. And people, at least the people I've talked to, have been appreciative of at least trying something.
So moving forward, what would you suggest, and what is the committee's desire?
That is a great question, because without having those things anchored down, I don't know that.
You're not getting a good enough read.
Not really getting a good enough read on if they're effective, significantly effective, I guess, out there.
So we really can't do much of anything. I mean, speed humps, temporary speed humps would have to be.
That would be something else
would
to
have the
try,
same
but
problem.
then, probably a similar problem, because the pavement surface is pretty bad out there. So, I guess I would suggest if the committee wants to keep them up there, and we can try kind of reconfiguring them to see if something else works out there, if that, we can keep kind of reconfiguring some things out there and seeing what works or what doesn't. Otherwise, we can take them down if the committee feels they're not doing anything. Or if you have any other suggestions that you guys think we could try out there, we can certainly look at something like that. So,
What's your pleasure?
Well, I think we should keep them up until we've got some other idea. I noticed in another part of this that you don't have any money for more temporary speed humps, but they wouldn't really be anchored well, but they would probably at least stay in place, wouldn't they?
We could try it and see
And
if
see?
it works. Because we don't have money for new speed humps, we'd have to move them off of Chestnut, which we'll talk about. At least maybe a couple of them off of Chestnut, we can put them down there and see if that helps anything. But that
Well,
would
how
be
much
maybe
how much it would be, how much were all of the speed humps that were put out on Chestnut?
If I recall correctly, it was about 2,000 per pump. So
So about 8,000?
yeah, and I know prices have gone up since.
Pardon?
Prices have been
Yeah,
increasing
oh, yeah,
with
okay.
everything.
So about 10,000 probably for
for four of them.
4 of them.
Yeah. So
How many would we need on that road, do you know?
oh boy, well it's a pretty long stretch.
Yeah,
And if you want to keep consistently people slow it down, you probably need them at a pretty evenly spaced, through there. So it's not like if you only have one or two, you're going to have people speeding up until that point, going over and then speed up again.
so we're gonna probably need 4?
Or probably something like that.
I would say we should probably leave them for now, and then let's think and chew over this a little bit.
Yep.
After we discuss
Okay.
Chestnut, because
Yeah.
I have some feedback from
Okay.
constituents up there as well. Before we start down the road, it might get too expensive and we might have to do something different.
I will say we're also looking for grants for actually reconstructing the street.
Yes.
And that would be a time for more permanent action, and we hope that would be sooner than later, but that's obviously not guaranteed at this point. But
Is that a possibility of doing like bump outs to sort of take place of where the cones are now?
yep, when we reconstruct the street, we could have any number of different things that we could consider there. Bump outs would be one, or like more permanent type speed humps that are kind of more gradual and bigger.
Oh, sure.
That kind of thing.
There's a
Or
lot
there's
of,
a lot of
to
things
jump
that
in
we
on
can,
that.
yeah, a lot of things we'd have to consider at that point, but yeah.
So it's clear as mud, or we'll keep it for another month, or do you want to revisit it in 3 months?
No, let's revisit it next month,
Okay.
Okay,
and just keep the cones out there for now,
sure.
and ask Public Works to reset them as often as possible.
Yeah, and I'll also, my engineering technician, I can have him make
Oh.
sure to go out there and take a look at them periodically and make sure they're in the right spot too.
Okay,
I don't think we need any more action on it, so.
I don't need any more action on it from what we were talking about.
Well, it sounds like we do, but 5% ain't cutting it anyways. All right, next item is yours as too,
Yes.
Dean. Discussion possible action regarding the Chestnut Drive traffic speed information.
Yeah. So in the issue sheet, you'll see kind of a before, middle, and after some of these different things that we've tried out on Chestnut Drive. Prior to us doing anything out there, there were no speed humps. The speed limit was 25 miles per hour per statutory speed limits. So beforehand, we saw that there was, a decent amount of people that were speeding through there. I know Joyce lives in that area, so I know she has more anecdotal experience maybe too. That,
oh, my husband called the bus company
Yeah.
this morning and reported one of the bus drivers, because he said, this guy was taking this curve on 2 wheels.
I was gonna say, because the constituent I talked about up there said the buses are jumping these things.
Yeah.
They're the big
Yes.
offender.
So I talked to Nick Willett, and he said that the bus company needs to hear from the constituents, because if they just keep hearing from the police chief and from the school district, then it just becomes noise. But if they hear from residents, then maybe they'll pay more attention.
Oh.
So anyway,
Yeah, so that was kind of before we did anything. So then after that, we changed the speed limit to 15 miles per hour without adding the speed humps, collected data. You can see in there that really didn't change much. Actually, the average speed went up. Essentially, people's behaviors didn't really change because the speed limit itself changed. Then after that, we installed speed humps and kept that 15 mile per hour speed limit. And you can see MA 2022, that third kind of chunk of data there, compared to before we installed the speed humps. The average speed declined by about 8 miles per hour through there. The maximum speed significantly declined through there. You had, you went from about 4% compliance to the speed limit to about 30% compliance to the speed limit. So that's more significant than what we were talking about on 9th Street. So anyway, well, I'm sure we'll discuss this, but there was a lot more significant difference by adding those speed humps out there. And that it also includes, traffic volumes were actually increased. We counted them in 2022 versus 2021 or 2020. Probably has something to do with COVID restrictions lifting.
So how long did you have the box out in May?
We just had it out for a little over a day.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So there's about 600 or so vehicles per day going through that area in 2022.
Okay, versus about
versus like I think it was in the 400s to about 500
650.
the last two times we
Okay.
counted it. Yep.
What do you recommend? Not that we'd listen anyway.
You can see that the speed has decreased, and I know if we do have constituents that are concerned about the bus drivers in particular, if we're able to get that problem at least mitigated to some extent, like they'll keep bringing the speeds down and that kind of thing.
Have the neighbors been inconvenienced? Have either of you heard about that?
Some people have said that they now avoid Chestnut because of the speed humps. But you know what? Okay, so in talking to the neighbors, the people with kids love them. The people without kids don't. And and we've got people on other streets saying, we want them too. Why does Chestnut get them? So, they're effective.
Yeah. I'm certainly not opposed to keeping them there until we have some other place that we want to try them out. I know that kind of the idea was to have these speed humps to kind of try them here for a little bit and then maybe move them somewhere else, try it out, and hopefully some of that speed calming will be residual for a little bit longer, that kind of thing. So they're not causing any problems to my knowledge out on Chestnut right now, but if we have somewhere else to put them, we can certainly do that. So.
And if we need to send it to finance, we're the finance, but there is the TARPA fund.
Yes.
And we were very big on the public safety aspect of stuff. So
Yeah.
if this was something that an
Yes.
engineer really thinks is working,
Well, I think that, we don't have the full toolbox ready yet, but we know that this works. We should be trying this in different places. So, yes, I think that we do need to plan to buy more. In fact, probably several sets so that we've got several around the city.
How many do we have currently?
We just have 4 of them that are all on Chestnut Drive.
Yeah, so figure about 10,000 per street. $10,000 per street.
so consensus was from this board is that we would recommend keeping them there, from what
Yeah.
I'm gathering. Yes.
Yes.
And I don't know if that would need to go to any more formal action or not, but.
I mean, you look at this, the data from 2021, and you've got 2 drivers from 46 to 50 miles an hour and 5 over 50 miles per hour. That's not an anomaly. If there was 1 at over 50 miles an hour, I'd say that's an anomaly, but
Is it
Not
possible to hit 87 miles an hour on that stretch?
Jeez.
I can't believe that you could do that.
I don't know.
crash.
Not in my car.
Did we have a crash there? Just,
We call those an outlier.
I mean, it certainly could be that there were, there could have been like some little malfunction with the box or
Sure,
something when it was
yeah.
put up, but that's only 1 or 2 of those data points or whatever
Yeah.
compared to the rest of them.
Yeah.
I will say in 2021, I believe the box was up for like 3 or 4 days, so the overall numbers you'll see are higher, of the vehicles that were counted, but on average, you can kind of see that what happened.
So Dean, maybe we should send this to finance to talk about? Or most move?
That's
Yes,
what I would,
okay.
yeah. To add more, you mean?
I'll make the motion to send to finance a request to purchase more speed humps and consult Public Works on exactly how many we should order.
That was going to be my next question, but I'll second that.
Any further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks. You're up again. Discussion possible action regarding River Ridge Road study.
Okay, so River Ridge Road, if you see attached to the issue sheet, I put together a few pages of a little bit of report. My trusty assistant Maverick and I walked up and down River Ridge Road, took some pictures, put up the box as well, and counted traffic, and also just kind of some observations that we had out there. I know a lot of the concern that's been brought before this committee is related to walking and biking, particularly from kind of the south to accessing the park to the north, on the north end there. The road itself is very narrow. It's narrower than probably what we would build today. I believe it was 18 feet or something wide, so it's not very wide. And because it's not very wide, there's really not a lot of space for people to walk on the street. That being said, however, there's also not a lot of space to have people walk outside of the street because there's ditches and trees and all sorts of stuff in the way for people to effectively walk outside of the street. Because once you get off the roadway, it kind of dips down into those ditches. And if you're able-bodied, you can do that, but if you're not able-bodied, it's more difficult. The pavement and everything is in poor condition, as you can see through there too. We did do the speed count, like I said. So the statutory speed limit is 25 miles per hour there. We did find that about 80% of people are going at or under the speed limit, which is slightly surprising to me, but that's what we found. I will say Maverick did tell me when he was out there setting up and taking down the box, there were quite a number of people walking through that corridor. And when he and I were both out there walking up and down the corridor, we did see, and this was in the middle of the day, so like not prime people walking time, there was quite a few people walking through there. So, and it makes sense because you're walking to and from a amenity at the public park, and there's a lot of people that live in the Lee development to the south, so it makes a lot of sense that people would do that. Potential solutions to, I'll also say to some identified safety concerns. As noted, the roadway is not wide, and there's really not a great place to walk on the roadway. There's also some kind of blind curves through there, and a lot of places where the trees are pretty close to the roadway. So if you're not paying attention as a driver, there's certainly places that you could not see somebody walking on the side of the road, that kind of thing. Ideally, it would be great to have a sidewalk or a path through there to keep people off the street. The problem with that in a lot of cases, in this case, is that the space that would be required for that means that we have to take out a lot of trees and regrade a ditch on one side of the road or the other to make that happen. Obviously, the roadway is in bad condition, so it needs to be reconstructed at some point anyway, so I just want to throw that out there as well. Obviously, if we did reconstruct the roadway, we would add those things in there, but there's also the option of adding the sidewalk or trail on one side without fully reconstructing the roadway. There's a couple other options I put out there, not that I'm advocating for or against any of them, but just wanted to kind of think outside the box a little bit. You could convert River Ridge Road to a one-way street, so that you only need, say 12 feet of that 18 feet of pavement, and the rest of that space could be identified for pedestrian movements. Obviously, the drawbacks of that are that going the other direction, you're quite a detour to get back around to, whichever direction one way. It would be a long way around to get to the other side, so to speak, because there isn't another. It's not like a grid system out there where you have another street a block away that could be the reliever or whatever. The other option would be, convert River Ridge Road to 2 cul-de-sacs with a sidewalk connection between them. I'm sure residents would love that to keep traffic down, but there's not, like I said, not a lot of public street network through that area, and so for public safety, calls and that kind of thing, I'm sure your agencies would like to keep that connection through there for service times and that kind of thing. Also, to add cul-de-sacs in there, we don't really have right of way for that, so we'd have to go through that process of finding more space to put in cul-de-sacs. So I just wanted to throw out those options. I know it's not something that can easily be done. Obviously, we've discussed before also just signs being put up and that kind of thing. As probably this committee is well aware, not everybody reads signs. In particular, people who are recklessly operating their vehicle probably aren't reading signs either. Less so than people who are actually following the speed limit anyway. So I guess there's no silver bullet solution to River Ridge Road out there. So unfortunately, but I wanted to open it up for discussion for this committee to see if you have any questions or comments on any of these options or anything else that wasn't in the report or anything like that.
Did this report get noted to the residents up there?
No, I have not sent this out to residents up there.
Who initiated this?
Well, this committee asked for a report of River Ridge Road up there.
Do you remember when?
I think
Last
it was the
month.
last meeting, yep.
When
Liz Brooke was here.
Liz Brooke was here and,
Yeah. And this was initiated off of this walking and pedestrian safety alone, right? Because
Yeah.
that is fundamentally not a certified city street, correct? It was never meant to be part of the city street ways.
I believe it was probably built before it was annexed into the city, so I would say it was probably a town level road initially, and then over time, as the city has grown, it's kind of engulfed that area, so to speak, yeah.
Yeah. I know for a fact, because I represent those folks up there on the River Ridge, that not all of them feel the same way as the previous constituent noted. Not everybody's on that same page. So they all want to be very much included in any decisions that are made up there, because it is not all for just one person's interest. It has to be for a community as a whole. And those people that are affected the most on that River Ridge need to be first and foremost involved with that.
Yeah. And something like next steps, if we wanted to talk about this some more, is we could put together like a neighborhood meeting or something to at least get a discussion started, if that's something the committee would like to see. Otherwise, if the committee feels we don't need action right now, we can not take action right now.
I think in the past, and it was when we had plan commission about that development up there, we knew this was gonna end up coming up sooner or later. And now it's sooner. So people are aware of the issue, but it's how we get to the best outcome up there. And Doug, did you want to add anything? I know.
I'd be happy to.
Do you want to come up here, Doug?
Yeah, if you would.
So my name's Doug Rowan. Address is 295 Riverview Drive. Our family's been a resident in this neighborhood for 22 years. So I can give just some observations maybe about how things have evolved. As Randy said, this was foreseen with all the development in the area, so I don't think it's a big surprise. All the observations that were made were not a surprise to me, other than the fact that I'm maybe 3 to 4% of those 300 vehicle visits personally on River Ridge Road every day. So that was kind of a surprise to me. The pedestrian traffic is way up. The bike traffic is way up. If vehicles are parked on the street, I know parking is only allowed on one side, but most of the vehicles that are parked there are large construction or landscaping or trailers. That makes it even worse. So
One
that's
car pass, that's what it's.
yeah. Well, and the problem is then you can't see if a car's coming the other way.
Yeah, we got more or less people.
Yeah. So there's a vehicle issue there too. I do think people do try to follow the speed limit there because it is not a very comfortable place to drive, even though it's for the residents that live there, it's great. We would support the idea of reconstruction in a way that makes it better for all the constituencies that are there. Me and my neighbors would really be opposed to anything that would restrict traffic flow, either the one-way or the cul-de-sac kind of option. We've already got issues with all the new development in the area getting out of the neighborhood. And for those of us whose driveways exit right onto River Ridge, to force us to go down to County Road F, which is already our other problem area, or through some of those other neighborhoods, you're just pushing the problem somewhere else and inconveniencing the people who actually live there. So that's, I guess, some observations. I could answer some questions too, but to your point, Randy, I think if there's a real plan, get all the neighbors that are there involved, because I think there'd be a lot of input.
Well, especially if we're gonna end up assessing you, well, not you, but the neighbors up there.
My next door neighbor, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. No, I appreciate your input up there.
yeah, and pickleball days are even tougher,
Yeah.
because you get, when the pickleball parkers are there, then. So, I don't know if restricting parking even further is even an option under ordinances, because I know it's only allowed on one side of the street now.
Well, that
That's maybe another thing, but
That was going to be my question was, would it be beneficial to restrict parking on both sides of the street? Would the maintenance vehicles be able to park in driveways?
it depends on the property, I would
They're
say.
building the houses on the ridge and.
Oh, they're still building,
So they just
okay.
park wherever they can and
Yeah.
it gets clustered up there.
Okay,
Yeah, and so if that's happening on 2 properties or 3 properties at the same time during lawn mowing season and stuff like that, it just really can be, because there are driveways on both sides of the street in certain areas. So it's, the problems are real. The challenges to solve it are also real. But I do think there's a good community of neighbors there that could probably help to craft the solution.
Yeah,
And I know my neighbors would be willing to be involved in that
yeah.
conversation.
Thanks, Doug.
Any questions you've got for me, or probably not? Thanks.
Appreciate it.
so it sounds like the next step is to have some kind of a community meeting.
Yeah, or I think maybe it needs to go to a plan commission, public works, something to identify if there, well, obviously there's a need there, but where would it come from to direct you to start drawing? Come for an approval for plans, specs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's a great question because there really isn't funding identified for any project there. So in order to expend effort to go through that, we would need to find funding to,
Well, that or do
For
we
do
need
that.
to wait for the next budget cycle?
that
CapEx?
might be a better idea because we're pretty much booked for this year.
Yeah,
Honestly. And I mean, this is a solution that's going to take time to, figure
and
out.
it's pretty evident that the main solution to this is reconstruction.
Right. At least in my opinion, I would agree with
Well,
that.
those aren't viable, and we're just,
Well, a PACER rating of 3, I think
yeah,
that,
if we did something on the ditch, we're just Band-Aiding it, it's not worth our time and effort, so we should get on the cycle as a big capital project.
Is there anything that could be done from a plan commission standpoint? I heard you say, brought up.
No, I'm just wondering what route we need to put this in to get it on the books or get it brought back up to get looked at and then start the process.
Yeah, I guess I would suggest for when we do budget CIP, we're probably going to start that process end of summer into the fall
August.
for next year.
Yeah.
At least if we can identify some funding to do design, work for the project for say 2023, even if we don't have the construction money, because it's going to be a pretty significant bill to reconstruct all the way through there, because it's a pretty long stretch through there. So at least if we can identify a budget time, some money to do that design process, that would be helpful so that we can
For sure.
have plans together so that when we do have funding available, they're ready to go and we can get
So
something done.
I suggest to this group that we send it, or put it down to your desk and then bring it up during CapEx, and we remember to pull it back up.
Okay.
Is that fair to you, Dean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great.
I don't know if we
need
need
it?
formal action on it.
No,
I don't think
Doesn't sound like it.
Just let's not let it slip through the cracks. Are you up again?
I think I am. I might as well just stay standing up here.
Discussion possible action regarding the speed hump installation on Wisconsin Street between 6th and 7th Street.
So this was, I was contacted by a resident who lives on Wisconsin between 6th and 7th, who's concerned about vehicle speeding on Wisconsin Street. They're close to Prospect Park, for whatever that's worth. I didn't put this in there, but their main concern is essentially people heading west towards the park on Wisconsin Street. I don't know why people would have the need to speed for 2 blocks when they've already stopped at 7th Street, but I don't know. We haven't done traffic speeds and volumes. I haven't been counted in that area, so I don't know to what extent it is a major problem or not. I just wanted to bring this to the attention of the committee.
I think we should do this study. Me and we try to walk there every night up there. And I haven't seen it, but I don't live there, and I'm very sensitive to the fact that people who live there have a better observation. But I think we need to start with the study first. Because if we start down the road of putting speed bumps throughout the city,
Right.
we're gonna have a problem.
I didn't want to,
You're gonna be Public Works number enemy, especially in the winter.
I didn't want to, that's why I kind of had the recommended action to do some more studying before we, made any decisions up there. I don't want to proliferate, these kind of things, especially if there are other areas that may need them more than, say, this area does. So just wanted to get your direction as to if that was worth pursuing, at least for.
I think we start with the black box and get data.
But if you can do it, I would start it from the end of Blakeman and Third and go all the way up to the 7th Street Hill. Because
I do it in a
there's
few different spots.
at least 2 spots, because they're coming up Blakeman really fast too. And those little grinders, whatever cars they are
Okay.
really speeding. And then they go park. And then that's their job.
Sure.
If you walk by, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yes, we do need to study. We actually put those speed bumps going down Prospect some time ago for the parks. That helped there, but those are kind of worn now. I don't know, you still get speeding over there between the park and that neighbor?
Been a while since I remember us getting contacted about it.
That's good.
I mean, I'm sure it happens,
Oh, yeah.
just because of the traffic that's in there.
Those are worn, so maybe something to look at. There are a lot of kids starting to play up there again. Boosters are practicing ball over in the open field there, karate, taekwondo, everything up there. People throwing their, so if
And there
it's a
are-
speeding issue, we need to take a look.
Yeah, and there are no sidewalks in the
Correct.
neighborhood up there too, so people are walking on the street. I would imagine there's a lot of people walking on the street up there to get to the park as well.
So we should probably have a motion on the study, so.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we ask Dean to gather data and bring it back to the next meeting.
second.
Any further conversation? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Now you done?
I may talk about this one too, it wasn't my issue sheet.
This is actually mine and Jeff's. We got this from Councilwoman Bruck. Intersection of First Street and Walnut Street, pedestrian safety. And as the summer comes along, it gets busy and busy there. And the cars are parked and you got a blind spot you can't see, cars are coming or not. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if Jeff agrees or not, it's the certified First Street is the alternate route for 35 as a highway. So I didn't think we could encumber it. like putting up stop signs. I don't know if that's true or not,
That sounds accurate. I feel like I have heard that.
because it is the alternate.
Dean, do you have something to add?
I don't know that that's official because it's not signed, alternate Highway 35 or anything like that. But that would be something to consider if you did do something there, is that is the best alternate route if 35 was closed for whatever reason.
Right.
Yep.
I would highly suggest the center lines at 350 per marker. And two of them.
So those are the,
The center line markers, the bright green in the middle.
okay, so the,
Lines.
yeah, so,
Because they aren't there now. I
Okay.
thought they were for whatever reason, but I think that's a start.
yeah.
I agree.
I hate throwing up more stop signs.
So one on each side of the intersection then, or,
Yeah. So two of them. And I don't know if you want to try the old flag system thing. We used to do that too, coming out of Public Works. But the flags walk off and disappear and you're constantly replacing them. Are those center lines stuck in the pavement too?
Usually they're not drilled into the pavement.
Just weighted?
They're just weighted, yeah, so they stand up. And they're like flexible, so when it does hit them, it's supposed to spring back.
Okay. Well, I would say,
I know our Public Works Department has some of them. I just don't know. I don't know if they're all out, somewhere else. But if they do have some in storage already, that would be pretty easy to put them out there.
if
Okay.
they have some, put some there, and then if not, we should make a motion to approve them and contingent on finding the funding, which would be easy for that amount.
do we need another one, at the next intersection in front of the Phipps too, or,
There was one there.
there was one there?
So maybe they're not all up, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it's there right now anyway.
This is an inexpensive solution.
Yeah. So I would make that my motion.
Okay, I'll
And then
second it.
If we need to identify more within that, we'll look at purchasing more. Doug, did you have,
Do you want another small piece of input on this one?
Sure.
You're talking about Wisconsin Street, right, first?
no, we're on First Street.
Walnut.
First Street in the Walnut.
In front of Pure 500.
I was down at the other end.
Oh,
And then that narrows the road a little bit too, by
Yeah,
having
a
that in the
little
middle.
bit, Yep.
So that makes, that's gonna slow traffic as well. Okay.
wow. Is that fair for a motion?
Yeah, sounds great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Dean, again. Phipps Center for the Arts Concert. The Phipps has their annual Lakefront Park, August 5th and 6th, 2022. The live bands, food, beverage sales, and we'll be utilizing the band shell at Lakefront. All the application is in good order. And
Yeah, looks like a great event. I'll move to approve.
Second?
any further discussion? John, are you involved with that one?
No, last year we posted just our cruise on down there, and it was family friendly, and
Yeah.
it was a good event. That's a really busy weekend for us. We got big concert in Somerset, Washington County Fair. There's a couple of things going on, so.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't affect us here. I mean, it could, but
Okay,
we'll, same
Excellent.
thing. We'll just make a presence, make people see us, and
excellent. And the police department is aware of what will be needed as far as if they sell adult beverages and whatnot through their packet. It should be all in there.
Okay.
Jeff should be aware of it.
Awesome. I would defer
Learning on the fly, eh? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries for recommend approval. Next item, speeding in the alleyway between Second and the old Public Safety Building from Walnut Street to Commercial Street. I received a complaint from a business owner back there about the speeding now because everybody was coming down through here because they didn't want to go up on the hill because of all the backed up traffic, et cetera. And it was so busy at work times or dinner time that they all cut up and go behind there. It kind of reared its head because this business owner's working on his patio. And people were almost getting hit, construction workers and employees. Now, I just got done saying I don't want to stick speed bumps everywhere, but this would be a good spot for those.
Okay. So the first step is gathering data. So, Dean, would you like to gather some more data? Good thing you have that black box.
Why not? Yeah.
Do we need another black box for you?
You know, it truly has gotten continually worse because of the vacation of the fire department. There's not that much down there now, so people are really cutting through here.
Sure. Yeah, we can certainly, I believe there would be a location along those like kind of power poles we could probably strap the box to over there. I just don't know, since there's all that space over there, I don't know if people are, I don't know. We'll look at it. We can certainly look at it, and if it works above the black box, we'll put it up and see what's going on there.
Well, you get people that are lost, so some of them are turning up from Walnut to go that way, and then you got a car coming this way, and then there's a guy that sits over here and trying to go, doesn't know where they're going. So there's some issues, maybe even paint markers. Come up with kind of a cheap plan. You know, not to cheapen the issue, because somebody could get hurt, but there's got to be a way to direct it a little bit better and slow it down.
Yeah, with that whole lot, we've also looked at potentially like seal coating it and potentially kind of reconfiguring some stuff over there.
We wouldn't do that until we tear around, right?
Yeah, it would be after we would do the fire station project if we did. We could do it independently of that, but we can certainly look into that if there's some other configuration or something that might make sense for that area too.
Or even label it as not a through street, because it really shouldn't be.
It shouldn't.
It's not
be.
a street.
No, it's an alley rather than a street. I think part of the problem too is it's so like wide open. The construction project notwithstanding, but usually it's pretty wide open through there. So I think people kind of have this kind of racetrack visual through there. But
Yep. Anything that's wide open, there's a tendency
So
to
since
speed.
you're not so busy, why don't you kind of come up with something?
Maybe you could
Okay.
set your assistant to make some observations in that area.
we can see what we can do. Yep.
It is almost too bad that we didn't have like that construction crew have all their equipment right adjacent to there instead of walking across that little roadway. I know it's not a roadway, but people still travel through there.
But then I think we run into fire safety fire lane. In case they got to get to the structures back that way.
But isn't that all marked off as fire lane only because the fire station was there? You know what I mean? Like, the
I don't know.
painting is there, but I don't know.
I don't know. We could put Jersey berries up, call it a day.
Just block it right off. That's one way to think about it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's a safety issue, I mean, these workers, if we're hearing complaints about these workers potentially getting, I don't know.
Yeah. So it is a serious issue, but if you could make time to take a peek at that,
Sure.
come up with something. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Spirit of the St. Croix, the Hudson Chamber of Commerce wants to hold their annual Spirit of St. Croix in the Lakefront Park, September 24th through the 25th. Local artists, we're going to rent spaces to sell their work. It's an excellent event for the city in the past, and there has never been any public safety issues with this event.
Another great event. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Oh, and Dean's back.
We were done.
Getting my exercise going up and down today.
Update on grant and funding opportunities.
All
Mr.
right.
Dean.
So a little bit of bad news first and a little bit of hopefully good news later. So start with the bad news. We submitted some grants for some projects up on 11th Street, 17th Street, Laurel Avenue, Carmichael Road, and East Canyon, West Canyon Drive. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in getting any of those grant applications. For the viewing public, there's a lot longer of a story I could say, but in the sake of time, I'm not going to say that right now. So that is what it is. So we just submitted 4 grants. One of them is resubmitting the 11th Street project, and then also a reconstruction of 9th Street from St. Croix to Vine, as we talked about earlier, 9th Street. The Fillmore 12th Oak reconstruction, and also reconstruction or pavement replacement for roads in the industrial park that are significantly deteriorating. So we submitted those last week, and we will be hearing back in August if we were successful with any of those. I hope this time that we will be successful with at least one of them, and hopefully more. A more cheery note, the Safe Streets and Roads for All Action Plan Development Grant. This is actually really exciting to me. As part of the federal infrastructure bill, the federal government has put together a new program that's called Safe Streets and Roads for All, or SS4A is the acronym, because engineers love acronyms. And essentially what this does is it has money set aside to help communities come up with what's called an action plan. And so what that action plan entails is essentially a combination of a lot of different things. A safety analysis, so where are we currently having issues with safety in town, whether that's vehicle, bicycle, pedestrian, whatever, truck, that kind of stuff. Incorporating a bike ped plan kind of component to it. We are currently working on finalizing our actual bike ped plan, but that get kind of wrapped into this as well. We've talked about this committee in the past, putting together some sort of traffic safety toolbox. So when we do have issues that we've identified, like how are we going to hit these and that kind of thing. Bit kind of like a complete streets kind of, if you know that terminology, kind of something like that. ADA analysis, and also potentially, looking at our ordinances to see if there's any updates that need to happen to holistically create a safe and efficient transportation system for all users. And so the great thing is that if we were selected for this action plan grant, to put this action plan together, then if we put this together, we would be able to apply for construction funding with the phase 2 essentially of the grant program to hopefully do projects that would address any issues that are identified within the action plan. So we are going to be putting together an application for a grant for that action plan to incorporate a lot of different stuff. I believe also that we can, as a part of this action plan initial grant, that we can use some of that money for purchasing things like some extra speed humps and delineators and kind of more things that allow us to do more test projects, that kind of stuff, as low cost, potentially high benefit solution kind of stuff. So that's exciting to me to hopefully have some more tools in the toolbox. So I just want to let you know about that. The grant applications for that are due in September. And then another grant also created by the federal infrastructure bill is called the Connecting Communities Grant. And this in particular focuses on projects that are meant to kind of reconnect missing links, so to speak, or expand them. And so reading through the information that's provided, the Hagen Street Bridge project, I think, would be a good one to submit for that grant as well, because it is helping to enhance a connection that is limited across I-94 from north to south in our community. And so we, and pretty much most, if not all, the work is already done, because we already submitted a grant application for a different federal infrastructure grant. So a lot of that it would just be duplication of that, so it wouldn't be a much extra effort. So looking forward to submitting for that one, and hopefully we'll be hearing some good news on some grants soon. So any questions on any of those?
Well, keep at it.
Yeah.
We're working hard on it.
Thank you. All right, EMS updates.
I gave you guys a handout. This is our first quarter report. So the Performance Review Committee, we changed back in October, I think, of last year. the committee had voted to, instead of meeting, we're meeting quarterly? Yeah, we were meeting quarterly.
Correct.
And the vote was to change that to biannually.
Biannually.
Yeah, and then the off months, I would produce a report that would go out to all the interested parties and the committee members. So this is a little bit old data, but it's from the first quarter report. So this is just for the city. Obviously, the full report had everything on there. Everything looks good as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you guys have any
I did
concerns.
just have one question on the second page. I was just wondering if there was anything specific that went to the delta between the percentile
Yeah.
and the, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. So the response times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the 90 percentile and the average.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. There's nothing that stood out
Sure.
on that. I do believe in April that came back down a little bit,
Okay.
so.
So that's not
Yeah.
necessarily a trend.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I looked at that too, and
Okay.
if it keeps creeping up, then I get a little more concerned, but. As far as the departmental updates, we're still fully staffed. We did have a resignation. Someone accepted another full-time job in another fire service opportunity, but we've already made a job offer on that position, so technically, we're still fully staffed, so, yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Great event, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for coming too, yeah, Joyce.
What? Did I miss free food?
You did miss free.
You missed free food?
He cooked it all.
His wife did. At least that's what he told me.
I figured it was too far for you to go.
I was probably not even there if I would have known that.
It was good food, too.
I was out of town, I would have been there if I was at those. All right, the police department update.
Not that I'm aware of.
Melanie, anything to add?
No, I don't. Nate is, 15 days into
Oh, if that.
starting? 7 days? Yeah,
Week about?
new officer started very recently.
He's still in the passenger seat, so
He's still in the passenger seat.
hasn't been here for more than 2 weeks. So.
Excellent. Fire, did you want to say anything, or?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to, in lieu of Chief St. Martin not being here, on May 28th, he texted me that the new boat is in service. They had their first call on May 28th. So that's been put in service. We have that, and all looks great there. And then I also want to just give a hats off to Chief St. Martin for these last few years, especially in building the new fire station the way he did.
He's done a hell of a lot in
He has
a
done
short period of
a
time.
lot.
Yeah.
Indeed. And bringing inspections up, I know that was a huge issue early on.
Yep.
So we'll have the ability, I believe, to do something as a committee for Chief St. Martin before he.
Good.
Good. And when will we be able to meet the new chief?
That is a good question.
He was invited to this, but obviously was not.
Yeah, well, he's across the
'Cause he's
state.
across the state, exactly right. I will see if there's some way or see what that looks like. I assume that may be a council meeting, because that has been announced, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah,
3 weeks
probably.
ago? But, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could zoom in on the next council meeting.
Yeah, or something, yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, anything for future agendas? Mary Claire, did you want to speak to one of the issues?
I mean, did you have, I apologize, I was,
No, we're at the end of our meeting, so if
is
you,
everything good?
yep, all right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your time.